I'm Marc Dresner, and welcome to Partnerships TV, featuring the experts and leaders at the forefront of clinical trials and development today. Joining us is Jorge Guerra. He is the Senior Vice President of Global Clinical Development Operations at Biogen Idec. Jorge, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Jorge, like many other sponsors in the industry, you've focused at Biogen Idec increasingly on quality in your relationships with CROs. Can you tell us a little bit about why you're taking that approach?
Right. Well, Biogen Idec has become a mid-sized company, basically managing its growth during the last 3 or 4 years, getting involved in larger clinical trials, phase 3 programs, that need to have a sort of a global footprint, with many more countries and sites participating in the studies. And as you mentioned, most of the work that we do is through CROs. So we clearly have quality at the forefront of our interest and ensuring that, again, that studies are conducted according to all the GCP, local regulatory requirements, and also that patients are protected during the conduct of the trials. And it's paramount for us to have a good quality management process in place that allows us to follow closely what's going on at the sites in terms of what I just mentioned, and be as proactive as possible, because, I mean, we cannot build quality just based on inspections. Auditing and intense monitoring can go so far. So we need to have an overall quality management in place that, again, has a more proactive approach as we have these larger programs in place.
What does that program, that quality management program, entail more specifically?
Right. I mean, for us, quality management starts with having a very solid, well-designed protocol. So that's a starting point. Protocols that are final, that don't have to undergo necessary amendments because of things that could be avoided up front. And from there, having a strong training program for investigators that participate in the trials, that have a good understanding of what are the elements of the trial that are critical to be conducted in a certain way, that they do also have their personnel that participate in the trial very much well-trained and engaged in the process, that we do conduct the studies in a standardized way so that we minimize errors, and that also all the procedures that are conducted as part of the study are done in a way that, I mean, we minimize variability through appropriate training. So that's at the upfront level. And then in the execution of the trial, certainly we work with CROs, and we need to make sure that the CRAs are appropriately trained in managing the sites, not just in monitoring the sites, but the overall management of the sites, in being capable of identifying errors or areas of potential risk, whether it's because of training of individuals or, understanding of protocol procedures and so on. So that's our major area of interest now. How to identify early what are some key risk indicators at the study level, at the protocol level, and then at the study management level, so that we can be as proactive as possible and have, I would say, a more real-time oversight of what's happening at the sites and our partners, the CROs.
How far along, how much progress have you made toward really, achieving the goals that you've set?
Right. As I was saying, I mean, for us, what's critical is real-time access to information, and therefore have a line of sight of what's going on in the conduct of the studies. And so what was critical for us upfront also was to have in place appropriate tools. And we have spent a significant amount of time upgrading our electronic data capture programs. So basically all our studies now are being conducted using EDC, remote data capture. We have updated also our clinical trial management system so that we have access to the information in real time that's fed on by the CROs that execute our trials. Our IVRS system has been upgraded. So now we have that capability of having access to information that's required in order to have these real-time oversight of the studies. And then we're working on, as I was mentioning earlier, on having quality risk management plans in place. And that's work in progress right now. So we need to make sure that the different teams that participate in trial execution agree on what are those key risk elements that you need to look for, so that you can put appropriate contingency plans in place. You know what to do if things start to deviate from what you expect.
Right.
I think we're overall, pretty much advanced on the tools that we needed for access to information. Where we're making progress is with our overall quality risk management plans. But a lot of progress in the last a few weeks and months.
Wonderful. How involved at this stage are your CRO partners in helping move the needle here? Are they perhaps collaborating with you, with each other, even in cases?
Yeah, I think it's an area of common interest, and certainly we've got a lot of feedback from our partners. We have preferred partners that we work with, and we've, I think, pretty much made it clear that this is the way we're going to move forward, and they have pretty much embraced these. So I think we're working together. They've been part of the process. We and actually working in collaboration also. It's not that we're working separately with each of the CROs. It's a joint effort so that we all can agree on a common platform, if you wish.
Right.
Because at the end, we need to be thoughtful of what happens at the site. So we don't want the sites to deal in a different way with one CRO or the other when it comes to managing our trials.
And do you find that the CROs are receptive to working with each other? Very
responsive, very receptive. I think that there's also this kind of interest at the CRO level,
right,
and making sure, again, we are both responsible for what happens in the execution of the trials.
Absolutely, absolutely. Are you talking to other sponsors, perhaps sharing best practices or kind of seeing what others are doing in this space as you're kind of developing a quality management approach?
Right. I don't know if you're familiar with what's called the Quality Consortium. That's currently being driven by the Avoca Group. We are members of that consortium, and certainly that's a forum where we are interacting with our peers. There's an upcoming meeting, actually. I believe it's in the month of May, early May, where we're going to have our first joint meeting to agree on best practices, agree on common standards, because I do think very strongly that these are all pre-competitive activities. So we don't have to, we don't have to in any way consider these as an advantage for any of the organizations. I think it's in the best interest of the whole industry to agree on common standards that we can apply, and then the investigators will find it much easier to work with us as sponsors or with any CRO.
And clearly, there are many, several big name sponsors, that are on the consortium along with you that feel the same way about this.
Right. No, it's a mix of big pharma, biotechs, and smaller organizations.
Yeah.
The CROs have been invited now to participate as well. So, I can only anticipate that, this is going to be eventually very, very useful for the whole industry.
A wonderful
and I'm sure that others will join us as we continue making progress.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to seeing what is going to be coming out of that moving forward. One last question for you, and that is, how supportive has senior management been in terms of the approach that you're attempting to adopt? Has this been a top-down mandate, or how has that played out?
No, actually, I think it's been, I would say, from both ends. So clearly people in the organization have been embracing these concepts from the very beginning and looking for ways to, again, progress as fast as we could. We definitely got a lot of support from our senior management. As I mentioned, we had upgraded our systems, and they require a lot of investment. And so definitely management was on top of these from the very beginning. And as we have evolved on our thinking on how to approach quality risk management, also upper management has really been, I would say, most supportive. Now, this requires not only investment of money, but also resources. So, and we need to allocate resources to work on these. And clearly, we've been given the go-ahead and I can only say, I mean, thank you, but I've never had to go and convince anybody that it was the right thing to do. Everybody was pretty much on board from the beginning.
That's a nice place to be in. Nice
no, absolutely.
position. Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you very much for giving us a terrific perspective on what's going on at Biogen Idec. I think that certainly what you're doing is indicative of, I think, the direction that your counterparts at.
I agree. I think that the whole industry is moving in the same direction.
Yeah, wonderful.
Happy to be part of the movement.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us today and sharing with us. On that note, that concludes this episode of Partnerships TV. If you would like to learn more about the Partnerships in Clinical Trials Conference and Expo, which produces this series, please visit us online at www.clinicaltrialpartnerships.com. Until next time, I'm Marc Dresner. Thanks for joining us.